Hi, so it's Roy here again. I wanted to I'm just going to pick up from where I left off. I was in that particular ward, I believe, for about a month. I can't remember the timelines. I just remember that I spent the most of the time in the second ward that I got moved to, which was more for general ward for. So the first ward where I was, I think, if I remember correctly, that was for like brain injuries or for people that had just recently come out of operations or had recently been admitted to the hospital for serious issues and stuff, and they needed in real intensive care. And then I got moved up to another ward, which was more specifically for I want to say like brain injuries and stuff like that, but I can't remember. I just remember everyone that was there. There was something wrong. Well, of course, they're in hospital. There was something wrong with them, but there was something like mentally wrong with them, and so I had this feeling all the way along. Well, I'm not meant to be here, but yeah, this was actually pretty scary, if I'm honest with you. And you've got to remember during this time, I can't even remember how many times or if I got visitors when I was in the ward below. I do not recall at all. But I know that this time when I got moved up to this more general ward, I did get, and I was allowed visitors like once every so often, or but not. I can't remember because we were just coming out of COVID, but it was just you are limited to the amount of time people were able to spend and the amount of visitors. I think I could only get one visitor at a time, um, and so yeah, that was pretty difficult. But this particular ward, there was some people in it that were, I want to say, the only word I can think of was scary, but scary is not it. It was just more they were troubled, and it was and not. I remember there was one guy in particular, and he was absconding all the time, and he had come from somewhere else, and I remember the nurses saying that he'd come back again, and I think he'd already been there, and it was just like moving the person around from hospital to hospital, but he was aggressive in the way he spoke, but not. He's the nicest guy, but he was just like from time to time he would, um, yeah, would just kind of lash out and be kind of, the only word I can think of right now is aggressive in his speech, and so it was really, and there was a woman that was bedridden, and but she was screaming all through the night, and that was because I just didn't know. I mean, that was horrible. um, and I'm just trying to paint a picture of the environment that was there, because I would literally went from this ward that was, I can't. I mean, I can't really remember. I just remember the feeling that it was more a quieter ward. I had my own room, to being in a 4 or even 6 room. No, I didn't have my own room. No, I got moved twice actually. The second time I had my own room, but I wasn't there for very long. And then I went up into this. It was smaller, so there wasn't as many beds in, but it was, yeah, that you would just put, that's a one. I can't remember how many rooms were in a ward, but each room had about 4 beds at least in them, and it was potluck who you're put with, because I saw people come in and out all the time. Some people who were non-communicative, and I was very fortunate. And I remember thinking to myself, the very fact that even though the words weren't right, and the and maybe, but the fact that I could communicate what I wanted, communicate, like, there was one guy in particular I remember, and sorry, this video is going on a little bit, but he had his family members come in all the time, and they were just asking him to say and to speak and to communicate what he wanted. And I remember talking to him when they left and outside, and just kind of being there for him and wanting, and he would communicate, but in, like, just not words. um and It was tough. Then I had other people that were just, it was really random. The people I had, there was a couple of people in there that had previously had strokes, and there was one guy in particular that I remember that he just said, like, yeah, he had a stroke, and that he was at home when it happened, and it was fortunate. But yeah, I'm gonna cut this now so that it doesn't go on for too long. But yeah, I'll update you again soon. Right, bye.